Welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 66, and I am one of your High Priests, Rey.
And I'm your other High Priest, Connor, coming to you from the past to the future, back to the future past, starring Rey and Connor, as we look at Moon Knight, volume something or other, the Ellis run, issue 3, volume 7, that's the one. Which is called something as well as some news we'll be plugging in here later. It's going to be a pretty interesting episode, and I hope you kick back, relax, and get your Khonshu on.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. Yes, this is going to be a bit of a strange one. Look, straight off the bat, Connor and I are going to admit that we are actually recording this ahead of schedule. So we found a bit of free time between us. So why not? Why not do the modern run review? So although we aren't technically following the phases of the moon, this will be released on a waxing crescent. So this will be released in a couple of weeks from now. And having said that, Connor, how are you? We are like 2 weeks. We are now living in the present, but as you hear this, listeners, you'll be listening to us as if we were in the past. If that makes sense. How are you, Connor?
I am bloody good. As you will know, our exploits in the episode coming out post the 30th of what's really happening right now. We'll also be recording episode 64. Tomorrow. Crazy stuff. But yeah, I am super well. It's always good. Actually, this is my first time jumping in for an Ellis review, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, welcome back, Connor. You, I think the last few episodes, although you will be present in episode 64, the previous episodes before that, you were away. I hope all's well. You had a bit of an injury, I believe.
I think I work a very shitty job at a meatworks, and it is slowly ruining my body, so...
that's no good. You've got to take care of the body. Know. Yeah, down the track, things will go sour. And the other, I'm just trying to think, the other week, you were off meting out justice, exacting vengeance, I believe. I'm hoping everything went well.
I totally forget what that's in reference to, but yes, I was wearing some nice bone armor, I was looking dashing, and I was just out beating some people up, Excellent. I've now got several warrants in several states, it's good.
Well, all the more to keep your back in check, If you're on the lam, you don't want to be, hobbling to your next safe house. Anyway, Loonies, yes, a bit of a confused introduction, but let me just try and recap again. We are recording ahead of schedule. When you hear this, it will be 2 weeks ahead of when we are recording this. So Connor and I are in effect stuck in a bit of a time warp. We will be stuck in the past, so we don't know stuff that has happened in the last 2 weeks. Although we will try to give our 2 cents worth on them. So Connor, I had a little look as to what is coming up ahead, and actually, as you listen to this, Loonies will have already just been released. Comics wise, Connor, we have on the Marvel side, if we just stick to that. I couldn't find anything on Valiant actually. The What If series will have released by the time this goes to air. What are your predictions? Are you going to collect this? Were you interested in this title at all?
I think I've got a few definitely down. Some creators I like. There's a What If Magic and a What If X-Men I'll be picking up because that's got Brian Hill and Lee Williams.
Okay.
And by 2 creators I really like, I'll be checking it out. The Punisher Spider-Man one sounds dumb, but I'll be picking up, people say. Same with the Flash Thompson one, so I'll be playing it by ear. What about yourself?
Yeah, the standout for me was the Punisher one, but you're right, it looks dumb, but that's probably exactly why I want to pick it up. That one, I'm keen to have a look at all of them. I used to love the What If series back in the day when it was on. One of the very first comics I got was what if Wolverine was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. with a it had a Rob Liefeld cover, and that really drew me in. I didn't see his feet in the front cover, so that's probably good. But it was an awesome front cover, and it was a great issue. I remember just being really wowed by Rob Liefeld and the whole what if premise. So yeah, I'll be checking out that. My prediction would be that. I can't remember the creators, but I reckon there'll be a pretty solid slab of comics.
I hope they get collected in one nice little trade. I think it's a good move. I think it's a lot of fun, and just kind of, if you got the money for it, it's good. And they're one shots. One shots always help.
Exactly.
There's a Defenders line coming up, which I'm excited for because it's like a big branching story. But at the same time, it's kind of a big money commitment.
Yeah, will that be out by the time this airs as well?
No, that's December. I believe.
December. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, no, for sure. I love one shots as well. They're nice, and we'll get obviously the issue that we're reviewing tonight. The LUNAR-PICK is a one shot. We're on Ellis's Moon Knight's comics. They're really good, yeah, but it would be very good in trade as well, I'm sure. Also, the other big one I thought, Connor, was X-Men Black. So, listeners, you may have already read some of the X-Men Black issues. Connor and I are still blind because we're stuck here 2 weeks behind you. Connor, what do you think? Are you back into the mutants, or
I'm big back in the mutants, yeah? I think. Well, sort of. I'm reading... They've got some pretty good comics out. I'm reading Mr. and Mrs. X and X-Men Red. I'll be checking out Uncanny X-Men, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
And there was another pretty good, I think, mutant-related announcement in the December solicitations. Likewise, the same creators filling me in. I'll be definitely doing the Emma Frost X-Men Black.
Yes.
And we'll see how we go on the rest of them, actually.
Yeah, I'll be keen. I think my predictions, they're pretty much just personal taste, really. Juggernaut and Mojo, I reckon, will be big ones. I'm looking forward to those stories, as well as Emma Frost as well. She's been out of the limelight for a while.
Yeah.
So she's always been an interesting character, always potentially at the centre of controversy because of how she's depicted, but that would be good. Yeah, Uncanny X-Men, I'm on board as well. I've slowly gotten back into the mutant titles. I want to give a shout out to one of the collective members, the Uncanny Nerdverse. I would have to partially thank them for getting myself back into the mutants thing. It's a really good listen, so check it out, listeners, if you want. The Uncanny Nerdverse. But yeah, I mean, I've been collecting, out of just pure loyalty, Multiple Man. It's a pretty stock standard arc, I think, at the moment. I haven't really been wowed by it. But I'm still collecting that. Domino, I've just fallen in love with. I don't know about you, Connor.
Of course.
Yeah. And
I've got it sitting there.
You got it sitting there? Yeah. She's, Domino, I was about to say, she's released an annual. Domino's they've released a Domino annual as well, which I've heard really good things about. Again, Loonies, sorry, this is probably like weeks old for you, but yeah, X-Men Black should be good as well. On the film side of things, Connor, so as we're stuck here in what is the date? At the end of September. We're still in September here, stuck in our time warp. By the time you listen to this, Loonies, there would have been a couple of films coming out. Most notably, Venom. Connor, have you got your tickets ready?
I mean, I'll probably see it out of interest, but I do not have any hopes for that film, I will admit. I'm kind of a pessimist for this one.
Yeah.
But I think I'll check it out. Predictions, not that strong. Sounds like a kind of a mess behind the scenes.
Okay, well,
I think it's taken some bad turns for, I think, fans, but I don't know. I like Venom more than I'd probably admit out loud.
Yeah,
kind of sucks.
Hang on, let me put this to you then, Connor. So just imagine myself just outside the cinema doors, and you've just walked out of the cinema, and I say, "Hey, Connor, how you going? Funny seeing you here."
Walked to Sydney. Just down the road.
Sorry.
Just walked to Sydney, just down the road.
Yeah. Funny, George Street. It's a long walk from here to Woombah. But anyway, so you come out of the Venom film. What did you think of it? Was it good?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty goofy. I think action was pretty cool. I think villains could have been better. I think Tom Hardy probably didn't get the time to shine he deserved as a great actor, but I think the Goop was pretty good. I think I'll give it a Goop out of 10. What about yourself?
Yeah, funny. Yeah, I came out of the cinema as well. Yeah, so I thought it was. I thought it was a typical Sony film, not excluding Homecoming. I thought it was pretty standard, but I enjoyed it because I enjoy the character. I liked Tom Hardy's performance. I think he has done a really good job. I think the special effects were good. And I do like Michelle Williams as well, so I think she makes do with what she has for the film. And I like the ending, which opens it up to a sequel. How's that? How's that?
I think that's a pretty good review that doesn't exist yet. I think we're really ahead of the curve. I think this is a bold new step.
Well, we are literally ahead.
Cinema reviewing.
So there you go, Loonies. Hot takes from both Connor and myself for Venom. The other one, I'm not a big fan, but I am aware of this Doctor Who and the new Doctor.
Ooh.
Will have already released as we speak.
Okay.
And again, Connor, hello. You're coming out of the cinema doors. There you are again. How did you find Doctor Who? It is in cinemas, isn't it?
They usually do it. I actually have no idea. I don't think it's
too.
in Toowoomba because we're not cool enough. But so obviously I walked back down to Sydney for this.
Yes.
I thought it was pretty good. I think it shows a lot of promise. I like how British it is.
Okay.
There's a lot of, people sound more British than ever. It's got, I think, a nice range of companions that really that bolsters it a bit more than I've cared for previous seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're nice little one-shot episodes, which I think is a strong step.
Oh, that's great. I share your sentiments. Look, not knowing much about Doctor Who, I did appreciate the new Doctor's performance. I thought she did really well. I think the humour's a little different to the usual Doctor Who stuff, but it's sharp, it's quite witty, and I see good things ahead for this, Connor. I see good things ahead for Doctor Who.
Me too. I'll definitely be here for the season.
Yeah, me too as well. So there you go, Looney's another hot take. Brilliant in-depth review.
The hottest content of
the hottest content.
29th of September.
Coming at you. Back to the future or into the past or something. So there you go. That was just our little snippet of us being a little in the past, but we will be. This is a bit weird, Connor, because we are actually reviewing an issue that will be reviewed in the future, but is actually a past issue as well. So it's pretty weird.
Yeah, I think this will actually be content, not just us guessing the future. So,
yeah, exactly.
Strong step.
Be a bit more straightforward.
Face front, true believers, and riddle me this. Do you enjoy comics? Great. Well, you're already halfway there. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as listener and producer. My new weekly to bi-weekly show deals with the heroes that don't get enough credit. Street-level heroes like Daredevil, Moon Knight, Spider-Man, and the like. With a strong emphasis on stories that don't get quite enough credit either, or perhaps are just plain goofy, with the occasional look into jumping on points for new readers who might be interested. I'm Ethan Ainsworth, and this is Knights, a Marvel podcast. Check me out on Podbean and iTunes.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe, but this podcast does put a smile on my face.
I'm not sure if you're exhausted from all the time travelling. We now have our LUNAR-PICK review. Let me just change our prompt sheet there. Had the old title. Our LUNAR-PICK review, and it is not a trade or arc review. It is a modern run. And
Modernity run.
And sorry, Connor, maybe if you could probably just give us the credits again, as well as the availability. This is vastly available, so
Yes,
it's very good.
Fantastic. It's available via single issues, Comixology, Marvel Unlimited, and a trade that is still readily available in print. From the Dead collects the first 6 issues of the run.
Yeah.
And all the Ellis stuff.
Yes, exactly. And look, if you're having trouble as well, just check eBay. I mean, I've seen plenty on eBay as well, so you can find them anywhere really, or even some of your Facebook marketplaces. They, I'm sure they'll have it. Sorry, Connor, I interrupted.
No, that's all good. This is Volume 7, Issue 3, a box, released July 2014, with writer Warren Ellis, artist Declan Shalvey, Jordie Bellaire on colours, letterer Chris Eliopoulos, and editors Ellie, Pyle, Nick Lowe, bringing together the team that made this 6 issues incredible.
Yeah. And what a 6-issue run. This is the 3rd one, as you said, Connor. They've pretty much been all standalone. And look, if I deliver the sliver, basically what we get is a bunch of spirits that are at unrest, and they come across Mr. Knight, and Mr. Knight tries to find a way to beat them, and he does, and he discovers why they are so unrestful. I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds very simple, and again, it is very simple, but the way it was written and Shalvey's art is just fantastic. So, Connor, what was one of the first things that struck out for you for this issue?
Ooh, I think I'll jump in here because I have been away for all the Ellis issues, but it's just so cinematic. I love the openings in this, like it's a proper credit title. The Marvel Entertainment Presents, the Moon Knight fonts, and then these great action scenes. Yeah, it's just one of the best looking books. So Warren Ellis is known for 2 things. He's known for some very intriguing, sometimes confusing runs, but he's also well known for just working with a fantastic set of artists to create just a big action epic. Usually very silent, just focused on brilliant action, and it's so visceral here, you know. Probably one of the best scenes early on is Moon Knight getting the shit beaten out of him, just because you see the way the blood and the clothes just fly, the cool weapons, and then bone armor.
I'd have to just take in a step back there with that first fight scene where Mr. Knight is getting the tar beaten out of him. As you say, I've got to call out and give props to Jordie Bellaire as well as Declan Shalvey for the artwork. But for me, Bellaire's colours, I really love how she depicts these spectres, you know, no pun intended. So, you know, they're kind of green, and you get this kind of green hue. I was about to say throughout the scenes of New York, not so much up in Grant Mansion, but you get there's green. I don't know. It's almost as if to me, it reminded me of like radiation. You know, but I know they're ghosts and stuff, but it just kind of evokes that kind of feeling. And as you mentioned with Declan Shalvey, I love the amount of detail he puts where, say, Mr. Knight gets his back torn by the chain from the ghost, and you see then just that smattering of red, the blood, really contrasts to the white as well as the very muted greens that Bellaire has introduced. I think it's great. One of my favourite panels is that one from above, kind of the bird's eye, where you actually see the ghosts, I think, or is it Mr. Knight's footprints in the snow? Because there's a whole lot of them, and he's just being beaten by them. Oh yeah, I think that's ghost possibly. I don't know. Yeah, but I really love just the just the little flecks of footprints you see. It just kind of really gives a very abstract, artistic look to it. But very good. And we also see, Connor, as you mentioned, so unfortunately you weren't with us for the first 2 issues. So issue 1 had Mr. Knight. Issue 2, the last one we reviewed, Sniper, had Moon Knight more in his costume, with the hood and the cape. And so issue 3, Warren Ellis brings us back to Mr. Knight, but it's not for long because, as you say, Connor, we get a look at some funky armor here. The bird, what is it? Sorry, the bird armor.
Yeah, it seems to be ancient Egyptian armor dating back from the times of Khonshu being worshipped himself, seemingly. And it's he just becomes one massive bony boy. I think I think we've seen this really well cosplay as well. So yeah, I think another great addition is just part of this to the Moon Knight canon, which I think Ellis did a lot of, just kind of introducing cool stuff with Khonshu and the mansion itself. You know, apparently there's just this whole warehouse of weapons to play with the old Khonshu statue. We hadn't seen.
Yes.
Post this run, I guess. Khonshu's been busy otherwise.
Exactly. And can I actually just insert here, Connor, as well? I mean, I know we've still to review, which will have been released by now, but we are still to review the latest penultimate issue of Moon Knight by Bemis. And I just want to say, like, with Warren Ellis's thing, see, what I love about this Ellis run, not only is it well written and it's visceral and everything, Ellis has introduced and he's added on a lot more to Moon Knight canon. You know, we've got Mr. Knight now. We have this Khonshu bird skull, and we as fans, we love that. And I don't know. I just want to say I'd like to applaud the writers that actually try give things a go. You know, not stick to what is safe. And you know, things might be hit and miss. You know, they might work and they might not. But I think one of the strengths of a good writer and a good artist is to push the boundary, is to try and find new things, and Warren Ellis does this very well here. What I really like about this, Connor, is, as you mentioned, with the bird armor and it being ancient armor and such, and you see the Khonshu statue, I wonder if this is going to be reinvestigated. We have a shot here, digital copy I'm looking at. I'm looking at the digital copy of the trade, sorry. And it's so it's page 58. But there's a big scene of Mark Spector with a bloodied back in a room, a storeroom, looking at stuff. He's looking for stuff. And anyway, Khonshu had mentioned to Mark, you know, you've got armor to defeat undead things. You also have armor to defeat dead things as well. So I like the fact, Connor, that he has a storeroom with what is seemingly an unlimited variety of weapons and armor that he can tap into. And I'd really love to see him use it more, you know. So we only see the bird armor, I think, for this issue alone.
Yeah.
I wonder what else he has in here, like in his boxes.
Yeah, I mean, is that possibly where Bemis's weird sword whip thing came from?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That sort of stuff's brilliant. The wraparound belt sword that you see in the Bemis run. Yeah,
I'd
sure.
almost...
Sorry?
No, go on.
No, sorry, I was just finished.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I hope in the next run we'll get that we kind of see a collection of a lot of the old and the new stuff as well. I'd love to see this armor revisited, and I think there's plenty in the Lemire and Bemis run, which is just what's so great about Moon Knight. It's just a never-ending addition to canon that never wants to say the same. Yeah. He never wants to just, I don't know.
Exactly. It doesn't want to... you can, and we've said this time and time again, you can look at every volume and there's a different twist in some way each time, you know? So that is one of the massive strengths of Moon Knight, I think. And, you know, rightly so. I'm not here to defend everything. Rightly so, there are some hits and misses and there are some good and bad runs. But what I do love is that we have a character here that is ever-changing and ever-growing still. I mean, he was created in 1975. It's not that long ago, you know, if you compare it to Namor back in the 30s, you know, or even Spider-Man in the 60s with the Hulk. 1975, he's not that old, so there's plenty to add on to his lore. But yeah, any other points here, Connor, for this issue that you enjoyed?
There's plenty. So I think this one probably... I don't even know where to start. I got a few points to cover. I think I'll go with the... Let's talk about Shalvey's art, because it's just awesome. Just the fight scenes are amazing. I think the way he incorporates the bone armor is amazing. So the first fight scene we see with him on, which is this cool Like, it's got like the beak, but it's also got this kind of samurai armor kind of looking. It's got kind of that skirt sort of thing, that padded chest, and like a necklace, which is cute.
I love that the mishmash of cultures there.
Oh yeah, and just the way we see the fist collides and the way it's so like exaggerated with the ghost, and we see weird things like there's a singular bone which acts as a shield. It's apparently super strong.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the bone knuckle dusters, and it just the fact that Ghost just lets Shalvey just go all out with the fight scene, knocking off heads, ripping bodies in half.
Yeah, I did wonder about that, but then I guess you can get away with it for them being just like ghosts, right? But if you were to, I mean, obviously, if they were normal humans, this would be utterly a max level kind of thing, wasn't it? Even that whole splash page where he punches that first ghost and his skull just explodes. And you see all this, I don't know, ectoplasm or something come out of his head. Really cool stuff. But yeah, I love it. And the contrast, if we're looking at Shalvey's art, of the amount of detail in the bone armor compared to the rest of the panels, like even the ghost, it's all very muted. He even uses some watercolors in some of the panels. You can see kind of while I'm looking at that ghost with the chain coming at him, and you got the black background, and I think they're watercolors.
Yeah, possibly. I think.
But yeah, I love the closest thing, I guess, to the cestus. One of my favorites. You know, those spiked knuckles. He's got those bone knuckles.
Yeah,
which are really cool. And he whips them out in very cinematic fashion, doesn't he? He kind of behind his back. You see him just standing there, and then he pulls them out, and then with one punch, he just like dismembers these ghosts. One of my favourite scenes there, Connor, is at the top of one of the pages. One of the heads falls onto the ground, and what looks like little ghostly maggots come out of his head. It's all very graphic. But yeah, no, Shalvey's art is brilliant. And again, similar to his magnificent number 5, I loved his kinetic motion with the fight scenes and stuff. Every body movement is like a snapshot, so you can easily follow. It's almost like a movie. You can imagine it moving, these panels, which Shalvey does really well. And by saying that, I mean he doesn't shift the camera too much. So like some of the artists have a tendency of trying to cover everything in the action scene. So you get high shots, you get low shots, all of a sudden you're spun around and you see another perspective of the fight scene. We're pretty much just stuck here with the motion of Moon Knight in the bird armor, and really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and just as well, just the way the suit works as well. There's some fantastic shots. Like I think the one's iconic where Bellaire is just given the black and the white blending together with the massive flowing cape. And the fantastic one on page 17 where the cape's now completely horizontal.
Yes.
Running forward. And I think just the gorgeous way, the way he's put so much effort into working the cape and the way it would actually move when he's walking down the stairs, say, in the third last page, I think.
Oh, that is brilliant, isn't it? I was looking at that, and it actually comes across as a very ghostly figure, doesn't it? Because the cape's just draped down. There's no more theatrical flair to it, like the panel at the top of the page where he kind of lands in front of that door. But yeah, even as you say, Connor, that panel with the horizontal cape as he's running, like that sort of stuff is brilliant because it really does imply the movement of it. Even the way Moon Knight is drawn there with the beak totally horizontal as well. You get this motion that he's running at speed. And it's very, it's a difficult thing to portray in essentially static images. But by having Moon Knight's torso almost horizontal as well, by having his arms kind of in that running motion, it really does evoke a nice horizontal or a nice motion to it. We also get kind of more of the Ellis technology. So we get the moon glider as well, which we did see again in Bemis, didn't we? In the collective two-parter.
Oh yeah.
And I do like. I hope we see more of it because it's a pretty cool thing. I like it compared to the moon copter or the moon jet. It's a lot more compact, and it's I'd assume it's a lot more maneuverable for him because it's smaller. But yeah, it's pretty funky.
And if I can continue on, probably like my last point. So I think the best part of the art, of course, we could talk. There are so many iconic pictures. I think. From him opening up the room of Egyptian collectibles to Khonshu on the chair as always to getting beaten up to the bone armor. But I think this issue at first kind of just plays like as an action comic, and it's even kind of funny in the way the conversation works between Khonshu and Mark, and the depiction of the ghost is actually kind of comical as well. But then we get to the ending, and then it kind of plays out more like an issue of Injection, which is his image, one of his image series, which is probably my favorite thing he's putting out right now. Absolutely, it's on hiatus as it usually does for quite a while, but it is just stellar, and it's just such a quiet and really depressing ending that just leaves so many questions, but just tells such a poignant, simple story about an attack of conscience, as he says, and just betrayal and loss and mistakes in 2 pages, really. Yeah. And it's kind of crazy you can do that in just 2 pages, but
yeah,
and it really draws back to kind of the more sad and depressing nature of Moon Knight that just worked really well for this whole run, and possibly even sets up for the finale with Black Spectre in issue 6.
Yeah,
just that kind of thematic tone.
Yeah, we are kind of... Yeah, you're right. Kind of really brought back to earth a bit with this kind of somber scene here. And let's play it out, Connor. So, as he goes, he's drawn into this abandoned warehouse. We see slumped there are 4 figures, which obviously have been dead for a long time. And we clearly see some bullet holes in their skull. And then under what seems to be a glimmering light, just cross-legged and with a gun in his hand, we see another corpse, and Moon Knight picks up the box, which is what the whole thing is titled from, and he looks underneath it and says, "Johnny be good, love mum." So, without spoiling everything that kind of is kept up in the air here, Connor, how did you see this play out? What was this scene then telling us?
So yeah, obviously I think these are some pretty violent punks that have a dangerous assortment of weapons and aren't afraid to hurt. And obviously one of the 5, I guess, gets a memento from his mother or just finds it again, is possibly ashamed of what he's done and kills everyone who's with him for hurting people and himself for what they've done.
Yeah, right. No, that's very thoughtful, Connor. I did think that as well, but it's just slightly different. I just thought... see, my take was that I thought the person had killed those 4 other punks in, whatever violent fashion or whatever reason. And then it was this box that reminded him of his mum and her wish for him to be good. And then I thought then maybe he took his own life. I'm not sure. Then this is typical, I guess, as you're saying, Warren Ellis leaves it up to interpretation. But either way, I think, Connor, it does have that same the same effect for both of us reading it.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think if you asked Ellis, he probably wouldn't give you a straight answer. I don't think he'd answer the question at all. I think that's the beauty of his run. And yeah.
It's kind of like, again, we only allow 1 Batman reference per episode. It's kind of like, is it The Killing Joke? You know how there was all that discussion at the end? Is that Alan Moore? All the discussion at the end about what happened when Batman and the Joker are laughing at the end, and there's that puddle. Have you read it?
Yeah.
So there's that ambiguity, and there's this whole lot of thing. What happened? Did Batman kill the Joker? Blah, 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 blah. It's kind of the same thing here. Nice being left up in the air here and for you to draw your own conclusions. I'm just trying to think if there's a really cool Wes Anderson movie that does the same thing. It had Scarlett Johansson and had Bill Murray. Lost in Translation. That was a really good movie.
I haven't seen that, actually.
You haven't seen it? Okay, well, I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but they leave things up in the air, definitely, at the end. And you're just left to wonder what was said. It's really good. But, yeah, same sort of thing here. And very good. And then we see Moon Knight just take the box, and in a lot of silent kind of panels, he flies off on his moon glider, and he just drops the box, it seems, into the Hudson River.
Yeah, and just getting rid of the evidence. So almost there's no closure to it. Kind of almost possibly leaving their suffering behind, not making it known to the world, possibly. I just love how matter-of-factly Moon Knight talks about it as well.
Yeah.
Talking to the ghost, you know.
Oh, yeah. Did you get an
And I don't think he even gets an answer either. He just takes the box and dumps it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's quite sad, actually, towards the end, isn't it? It just really takes a turn there. And it's amazing, because it all happens within, a few panels. You're kind of left there, not coming out of it feeling a little down, but you're just kind of, a little somber at the end of it. But really effective writing here from Warren Ellis. So, yeah. Anything else here, Connor? A little quibble here. I think it's a silly quibble. I was thinking, how does Moon Knight drop the box in? With the glider, he needs two hands, right, to hold onto the glider. Don't know what happened there. Maybe he's got them in between his knees and he just let the box go. Who knows? yeah, not as... they probably didn't dwell on that because it's not as graceful. But yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. If you go to page... what is it? Go to page 18 on the digital copy. You can actually see underneath the hand glider there is a little belt that must just tie around his chest that keeps him afloat.
Yeah, true. Can give him hands-free cruise control. That's good. Yeah, true. True. Yeah, very good. Very good. Good issue. Having a look. Anything else? Any other things of note here? No, I mean, there is a small conversation between Mark and Khonshu, which I always love to see. And Khonshu is actually the one that actually gives him advice. Oh yeah, that's the one. He's saying, a people who map the afterlife, a people who clothe their dead for the world beyond a sort, always to touch down to the spirit. You possess all kinds of armor and raiment for killing the living. How can you not have garments for fighting the dead? So that just opens it up, doesn't it? I mean, I would love to see him fight the dead. And he kind of did it in the Bemis run. There was that dream sequence when he was fighting the mummies, right? That was pretty cool. But it wasn't like real.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff left here. Actually, I'm keen. I haven't read the next part of this in a while. I can't remember whether Bunn or Wood plays on this either.
With the armor?
Yeah, with just that whole room of goodies.
Yeah, I'm not sure as well. I mean, yeah, I can't remember. I'll have to reread it again. I know Bunn Moon Knight uses a lot of his standard weapons, like the crescent darts and I think the truncheon. But for the life of me, I'd love to see the bird armor come back for something. I mean, truth be told, it is a little clunky. It's not the most, versatile costume a superhero can have.
It's very specific.
Yeah, very specific. What was that? There was an issue, Connor, where we saw the death of Moon Knight, and he was in the bird armor. It was a recent run. Oh God, I can't remember it. Do you remember that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kind of explain it to me again. Like, what do you mean?
It was like it wasn't Damnation. It was another run, like it might have been Secret Empire or something, or some other, crossover event, and it had or alternate reality, and it had Moon Knight, and he gets killed straight away. Oh, what is it? Anyway, I'm gonna have to have a think.
It's not like
of that.
Cosmic Ghost Rider. I don't think it was in the bird armor. It was just Mr.
No,
Knight, wasn't
no,
it?
that was just Mr. Knight. No, there was another one. It was an alternate. Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. Anyway, one of those big events, and it was again another throwaway. Let's get rid of Moon Knight. Pretty much like the Cosmic Ghost Rider thing. But at least he's been shown, right? So he's there amongst it in the public eye. So anyway, so shall we give this a moon rating then?
I think we shall. All right. Would you like to start off?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. Again, very tight, succinct writing from Warren Ellis. Really good use of the visuals. So Warren Ellis, I'm sure in his script, and Declan Shalvey together, and of course Jordie Bellaire with their fantastic colours, just really bring this to life. I love Declan Shalvey's thought that he puts into the fight scenes. I love his detail. He uses detail where it's needed, and he kind of strips it away where it's not that important. So, I mean, we get a lot of stuff like Mr. Knight's suit and the bird armor with the cape, just constant folds of the clothing and stuff. It really gives it texture. I would have to give this, and I'm going to be specific here, I'll go for a Waning Gibbous. So a Waning Gibbous I'd put as a bit above a 3/4 moon. So we're looking at, like a 8 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10, something like that. A Waning Gibbous.
A Waning Gibbous. Now I've got to look at fancy moon phases.
Yeah, yeah. So the way I reckon is that you have your quarters, quarter, half, 3/4. I reckon the waning is just a bit over something, and the waxing is just a bit under. So if I was to say a waxing gibbous, that would be just under a 3/4. And if I was saying if I was about to say a waning crescent, I reckon that is just over a quarter. So somewhere in between a quarter and a half. That's how I kind of look at it.
Well, I will agree then. Is it Waning Gibbous?
Yeah, Waning Gibbous.
I would agree, just because at first the first half is like a fantastic action comic. I'm not the best at describing art, so I think the best thing to do is to pick up this issue, if many of you hadn't already read it, and just dive in and just pour over every page. It's a very quick read, because there's very little dialogue, but you can just stare at every page. I love Ellis for adding to Moon Knight canon, as always.
Yeah.
There's a whole new room of things to use for future writers, and for new ideas and crazy new action sequences. Mm-hmm. And then finally, I love the poignant ending. I love Moon Knight, Mr. Knight as a detective, and I just think the way that works, almost the way it works all the way back to Volume 1, with just these comments on human nature that I've lived for with old Vertigo. That's, where Ellis started, and just all this great stuff in comics. I think those last 3 pages are just so affecting and simple, leave so much open, but just say so much. And it's just a fantastic issue.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Really good. So, Loonies, if you haven't got a copy yourself, please hunt it down. Even if you don't own it, you can always read it on the likes of Marvel Unlimited, or I'm assuming, or maybe not, Comixology Unlimited. I don't know if they do that, but
I can check for you now.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, but it's readily available. It's worth, from our ratings alone, I reckon it's worth getting yourself a copy in some capacity. It's funny, kind of like we did say Waning Gibbous for these, but if I'm to compare it to, say, issue 1 and 2 so far, I'd say I'd put it just a little under still. I think 1 and 2 for me are a little bit better. And of course, issue 5, which is my favourite, would, that would be top of the heap there. But it's a very strong run from Warren Ellis, isn't it? It's good.
Oh, I don't think, I think this stands as so many people's favourite, or at least the one most people don't stop talking about. So, you cannot go wrong with Moon Knight. Was it The Trade from the Dead? And we'll be covering the next issues. No, sadly, not on Unlimited.
No, okay. Well, that's okay. There's Loonies are available everywhere, and look, if you are a Looney, you probably own this already. But just tell your friends and they can go get they can go get single issues or trades or read it as well. But yeah, very, very cool indeed. Right, well, since we are broadcasting to you from the past, we don't have obviously any feedback for this, but I'm sure you all would have said...
There's some.
Sorry?
My cat's being very loud in the background, if you can hear him. There's some feedback, I guess.
Some feedback. You know, cats, they are close ties to Egyptian culture.
So true.
You've got to be careful. Those eyes are windows into some sort of soul or something. Well, Gibbsy, very good. So no feedback apart from Gibbsy there, but I'm sure it would have been all vastly positive. As for Spectacle, I'd like again to just shout out the collective. We are part of a band of absolutely awesome collective podcast shows. There are likes of, it has been released for a couple of weeks now, another big plug to the Defenders TV podcast, who are wrapping up, or have wrapped up, their coverage of Iron Fist Season 2, but go check out, they have an interview with Chio Coker, the showrunner of Luke Cage, which was is an absolute treat to listen to. That could have gone on endlessly for hours. Coker really does love his stuff. Definitely check it out. And as mentioned before, with a resurgence and the upcoming Uncanny X-Men revival, be sure to check out Uncanny Nerdverse. Those guys, Ryan and Alan, are really cool. They're on top of their game with this sort of stuff. They also have a Patreon page, so just consider maybe supporting your favourite podcasts. I have as well. You can come away with, I think they send out stickers and posters, so something to slap on your favourite bag or your folder or your laptop. Yeah, so very cool. Gives us ideas, Connor, for, maybe down the track for Into the Night. Maybe, bit of patronage action. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Things always happen behind the scenes.
Think so, exactly. I'd like to also big shout out again, thanks the music supplied for this episode, as always, from the band Delita, our good loony friend Noel, guitarist and lead singer of the band. Thank you so much, Delita, for all the music on this show.
Yes, I wasn't there for when we first dropped in that piece, but it is fantastic, and I fell in love as soon as Rey sent it to me. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. When you hear this in like 2 weeks.
Yes, we are. Yes, we'll. I don't know. I was about to say that we're stuck in a time warp yet again. I think I've said that 100 times. Anyway, kind of next phase. So next phase, 3 weeks from now. But as we speak to you next week, what do we have?
Next week we have special guest Ryan Pitclerk, podcast host from the Venom site. Regardless, I'm sure he'll be there to tell us what really happened in the Venom movie, not some possible takes. Reviewing Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 31 and 32. This is our trade arc reviews. We drop once a month during the Waxing Gibbous phase, and it's called A Box of Music for Savage Studs, which relates really well to this issue, actually. There you go. Yeah. Collusion. Ray set this up, probably.
It's can't wait for that one. That should be good. We'll have someone else on. Orion will be very interesting to listen to. So check that out, Loonies. We are coming thick and fast still with the Into the Night train. It's all going well. As usual, you can find us on email, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We have a blog site, which is intothenightpodcast.wordpress.com, where all our show notes and all our descriptions are there, as well as all the links to our newsletters as well. Facebook as well, we're at facebook.com/itkmoonnight. That's our page, and our group, which is ever growing. I think we've surpassed the 500 now. I wonder how much we'll have in 2 weeks' time, Connor, i.e. when you hear this right now. Currently, when we speak, as we are in September, I think we've got like 511, so it'd be interesting to see.
Totally crazy. Just never stops growing.
Yeah, be interesting to see how much we get. So in the group, facebook.com/groups/ITK Moon Knight. On Twitter, our handle, ITK Moon Knight. again on Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube for those who like to use YouTube to search for Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Finally, it would be much appreciated if you like our show and you like what we're doing, to please maybe just write us a review on iTunes. That is still quite important for a lot of podcasts, just to get our name out there and to keep us, in the loop and keep us valid amongst podcast listeners. So a review would be very good. And we're available on all podcast catchers as well. So whatever is your fancy, we should be there. Okay, Connor. Well, I think that wraps up this very odd episode.
Very odd. Great issue, though. I think some of the finest, hottest future takes ever perceived in mankind. And I can't wait to join you next week with 3-week post me, who will be a very different person.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be completely unalike, so stay keen.
It'd be really weird to just interact with our future selves. Be looking forward to it as well. Don't know what the hell would have happened between now and then. Anyway, as always, Connor, let's sign off for our lovely loony listeners.
Well, as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night and the denizens of 2 weeks from now. Bye-bye.
Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.